When arriving in Washington, D.C., our first stop was the National Museum of American History. First, we checked out the new innovation wing to learn about some of the cool inventions and specifically the sections called Places of Innovation and the exhibit on Thomas Edison called Lighting a Revolution. Here we looked for big ideas or solutions that have changed life and work in a compelling way and how that shed new light on the potential for innovation at companies and organizations. One big idea was the digital camera. This was invented by Eugene Lally in the mid to late 1900s and has really changed the way we capture images and how we could share them with people around us. Next, we realized that the printing press is a very important innovation. It is a device for applying pressure to an inked surface resting upon a print medium, whether paper or cloth, and thereby transferring the ink. This allows us to make copies of items without having to handwrite every single copy. This is important in the olden days and today, and especially with printers, it has changed over time and it helped the newspapers become able to be printed for everyone. Next, we realized that batteries were a great innovation. They were invented in 1749 by Benjamin Franklin. Batteries provide the main source of electricity before the development of electric generators and electric grids around the end of the 19th century. Successive improvements in battery technology facilitate major electrical advances from early scientific studies to the rise of telegraphs and telephones, and eventually leading to portable computers, mobile phones, electric cars, and many other electrical devices. Next, we picked the computer, which was very beneficial, and especially as Steve Jobs changed it over time to make it become more advanced as it is today. And lastly, we checked out the light bulb section where we learned a lot, which is one of the everyday conveniences that affects most everyone's lives today and allows us to do anything at any hour of the day because we could always have light. Next, we looked around to figure out the most important questions that leaders in any organization should commit to answering if they are serious about driving greater innovation. In the main room, there was advice of different ways to come up with innovative ideas. Some of these ideas included creativity, problem solving, risk-taking, communication, adaptability, and collaboration. A leader must come up with a way to answer all of these facts in order to be successful. We also learned about the process of how different things are invented and where they are invented and the ideas behind all of them.
Say hi, guys.
Our next stop was the portrait gallery, but first we stopped off to find an optical illusion. What we saw was a house, but when you approached it, you realized that the house was actually inside of itself, or you gained a new perspective when you approached it. So what we took away from this was that looking at a project from different angles or different perspectives can reveal new information about that project. When we first arrived at the portrait gallery, we didn't know where to go to find the first requirement for the class, so we had to ask a stranger for help. We originally asked a security guard, but he wasn't familiar with the exhibit, so we asked a patron who looked like they had frequented the museum a lot, and they pointed us in the right direction, and we actually got to walk past a lot of art on the way over there. We kept seeing these inspirational quotes around the paintings on top of the walls that kind of played into the different values that we were looking at that artists exhibit. We first looked at why the mind of the artist is essential to the success of organizations as they seek to innovate and connect with employees and other stakeholders. The following quotes reveal that the artist had passion for their work and high motivation. Additionally, I saw this painting, which really attracted my eye just because I thought it was beautiful, so an understanding of aesthetic appeal was pleasing to the eye. We finally reached the main exhibit that we were meant to find for the class, and just kind of seeing how huge an undertaking the whole project was, we really understood that you, first of all, need to have like a high creativity. You also need to have a lot of passion for your work to be able to see a project through from start to finish. Finally, we saw a lot of inspiration. He had a lot of religious inspiration, but just drawing inspiration from anywhere in your life can really spark a really interesting idea. We then moved on to the 20th Century Americans exhibit to take a look at some portraits of famous Americans. We were looking for insight on what it takes to do something remarkable. Michael Jackson was a person who thought a little differently than everyone else. That's our first one, thinking differently. He was an innovator with his stage performance, his writing, and his album ideas and artwork. This is a bust of Arthur Miller, an American playwright and essayist. He had a great understanding of how society worked and how people interacted with each other, and that's why he was able to parody that in his plays and work. This is our second trait, understanding society and people. Our third trait is achieving your goals by any means necessary. This is a bust of Henry Kissinger, who served as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State for Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. He symbolizes a by any means necessary attitude, as these administrations did basically whatever they wanted to achieve their goals, kind of culminating in the Watergate scandals for Nixon. While this may be an extreme example of by any means necessary, we do believe that if one has a goal, that they should do whatever they can to achieve it. This is a portrait of Pablo Casal, who was a Spanish cellist. He was a Spanish cellist from Catalonia he was famous not only for his skills as a cellist, but also for his support of a democratic government in Spain as opposed to a dictatorship, which they had at his time. This represents conviction for your ideals. Our final portrait is of chemist, biochemist, and peace activist Linus Pauling. He's the only person to win 2 unshared Nobel Peace Prizes, one for peace activism and one for chemistry. This portrait represents having a mastery of your craft, as he was not only a peace activist, but he was a master chemist who was able to take what he knew and use it to help issues that he cared about. This is our fifth and final element of what it takes to do something remarkable.
So next we visited Tesla. We got a lot of good information there from the workers. What makes this car so remarkable is that it's fully electric, so therefore has no emissions. It gets 285 miles on one charge and has a 0 to 60 in 4.15 seconds. While yes, the price is very steep, starting at around $113,000, this car offers a combination of luxury, sport, and electric cars. When we visited Tesla, a few of us sat in the car and came to the same conclusion. It feels like you're in a spaceship. Tesla is at the forefront of today's market because they are adapting to the changing culture by offering an emission-free vehicle that not only looks good, but also goes fast. Tesla's cars beat standard cars in just about every way. While there are a lot of lessons you can learn from Tesla, let's start with 5. Lesson 1, be bold and ambitious. Tesla and their announcements are always exciting. One of the most exciting was in 2012 when they announced the ludicrous mode for their new Tesla Model S. Lesson 2, think out of the box. When Tesla was designing the new ludicrous mode, the extra acceleration doesn't come from extra battery power. Instead, Tesla developed a new fuse that uses electronics and its own tiny lithium-ion battery to detect when it will melt, so the car can safely draw more power from the battery. The new fuse will cut power in time if necessary. Lesson 3, be lean. This essentially means limiting the options in order to save manufacturing costs. Lesson 4, always strive to improve. Tesla already had a great product when it first came out. Then the Tesla Model S exceeded the previous vehicle, and now the Tesla Model X, while in a different class of vehicles, has some improvements of its own. And finally, lesson 5, performance over cost. Instead of trying to build an inexpensive vehicle, Tesla made a high-quality, high-performance vehicle.
Our next stop was Whole Foods Market. We didn't actually go to Trader Joe's, but we happened to walk by it on our way to lunch. And we noticed that there was a line that was out the door, literally leading around the block. So we thought that was interesting that this grocery store is a lot more popular in this city than other grocery stores that we had saw, like Safeway or Giant. The first thing that you see when you walk into Whole Foods is this quote, "We care about our communities and our environment." And this kind of encapsulates what Whole Foods is all about. They stress going to food at its source and knowing where your food comes from and what's done to it before it reaches your table. They also have sustainable business practices that create a quality company image. Since it was Sunday, Whole Foods was in full sample mode and there were samples all throughout the store of things you could try. This isn't really typical in a lot of large chain grocery stores to offer samples, so we took our fair share of the salsa and the guacamole that was around. This kind of gives the customers a preview of the Whole Foods food and also kind of points out the fact that Whole Foods is not just other people's products, they have their own line of products of different pre-baked goods or different dips or things of that nature. So they're really more than a grocery store. We also noticed that the decor of Whole Foods was a lot different than large chain grocery stores. They tried to keep it seem more like a market with wood and more natural setting rather than having these plastic bins and plastic freezers that we usually see at grocery stores. So this kept the whole store feeling more natural and less artificial. We stopped and talked to one of the samplers who was selling sunflower greens. She represented a private farm that was selling these sunflower seeds and harvesting them at their early stages when they're at their most nutrient dense. So we stopped in and talked to her about what it was like working with Whole Foods. She said that they were actually the ones to reach out to her, and they look around the area and kind of pick out different farmers that they're interested in featuring in their stores. So what Whole Foods will do is they'll send a representative into the farm and look around, make sure that the farm meets all their quality standards, and make sure that they are representing themselves truthfully and honestly. The vendor said that her relationship with Whole Foods was very positive on the whole. She said that they were very easy to work with and that she was very happy with the advertising space that they provided.
For our fifth stop, we decided to go for lunch. For lunch, we picked Amsterdam falafel, which is inspired by falafel shops throughout Amsterdam. The founders brought the exciting flavors of Europe and the Middle East first to Washington, D.C. This store is unique that once you get there, they first fry your falafels, then you get to pick different goodies from the salad bar and make it for yourself. We tried to figure out the most essential lessons that Amsterdam Falafel could teach us about connecting with the market and being different than any other food establishment. First, we realized that customers like options and customization. It was possible to allow the customers to have options by having the salad bar. The salad bar had multiple side dishes ranging from hummus to pickles to different kinds of sauces. This store was similar to Chipotle or other frozen yogurt shops in this sense because you really had so much variety. The store was fairly inexpensive and had very many health options so it could cater to all different types of people. Additionally, there was less competition because the food was with other foods that are sold like this. These lessons aren't only important for Amsterdam Falafel or food types of restaurants, they can be used for any type of organization to strengthen its appeal to the people it serves. Any business could do this by catering to its customers and allowing customization. Whether this means having different colors of products or different types would really be helpful and customers would love it. Additionally, they can always have a cheaper version of making something for those who do not care about the finest quality, such as Amsterdam Falafel had.
Guys, say hi. When we visited Georgetown, 5 things that we thought really mattered to the new generation were appearance, a hands-on experience, variety, a natural feeling, and to capture a specific demographic. These can be used by a company to engage a customer because it lets the customer feel empowered or in control. Customers have a hands-on experience with the objects they want to observe, and a variety allows them to see not just one type of product. A great word to describe the store design would be simple. The stores were open and spacious. The Urban Outfitters had some creaky wood and some quiet music. One of the additional requirements we chose to complete was to find a statue of a person you never knew existed. We found that statue in Scott Circle of Brevet Lieutenant General Winfield Scott. The statue honors his military career.
One of the additional requirements was to come up with 5 generalizations about Washingtonians. First, we decided that they are very multicultural. There are many different types of museums easily accessible to them, which seem to be flooded with people all day. Next, we realized that the people are very relaxed. Compared to other big cities, such as New York, the people walking around Washington, D.C. seemed a lot less stressed and more relaxed. Instead of rushing from place to place, they seemed to walk at a nice, slow pace. Next, we realized that the people are trendy and classy. They were very nice wearing nice clothing, and in all the stores we shopped, they seemed very trendy. Additionally, the people seemed tech savvy. From the stores to the museums to the metro, everyone seemed to be very good with technology. Lastly, we noticed that the people were very friendly. In the whole food store, everyone tried to talk to us and help us with anything we needed. In Tesla, the person who worked there told us all about the cars and answered all of our questions. And additionally, the people in the portrait gallery, whether the people who worked there or the people visiting, all seemed very friendly and welcoming.